Along with Adam Lauridsen, I'm Ravi Kapur. After Game 2 of the NBA Finals in the Phoenix Suns, they held home court, winning 118-108. Adam, what did you see here in Game 2? It seems like the Suns are clicking on all cylinders, despite the fact that Giannis had a monster performance.
Giannis was looking more like the MVP that he is tonight, but this is why the playoffs are so much fun. There are changes every game. Both teams adapt. The Bucks were playing better defense tonight, but so were the Suns. And the Bucks' two other stars besides Giannis really struggled. Middleton and Holiday shot a combined, I believe, 12 for 37. The Bucks simply can't recover from that. They need somebody other than Giannis to come through to beat a quality team like the Suns. They just didn't get it tonight.
Yeah, Chris Middleton only 11 points tonight. Pat Connaughton had 14 off the bench. But if you're not getting anything from Holiday or anyone else, and I don't know what's happened to P.J. Tucker's offense, but I remember him to be a little bit better offensively with the Rockets. He hasn't taken that productivity with the Bucks, it seems.
In fairness, he's expending a ton of energy on defense, and that's really what they have him to do. But he's not hitting open threes. He's missing a lot of point-blank looks on offensive rebounds. They need more production from him and more production from everybody except Giannis. The rest of the roster really let them down tonight.
Well, let's talk about the big four for the Suns. And I say the big four because Mikal Bridges had 27. And he's a young man who, when he got drafted by the Sixers, I thought, hey, this kid would be a great fit. And then immediately he got traded to the Suns, which was stunning because I really thought he had great prospects. But he has blossomed here in the playoffs, a great 3-and-D, kind of a prototypical 3-and-D kind of player. Booker had 31. Paul and Ayton also great games for them. I mean, talk about the Suns. I mean, they're just balanced from start to finish.
It's balanced, and they complement each other really well. When Booker and Paul stretch the court, it creates opportunities for Bridges and Ayton. When the defense has to pay attention to the pick and roll and to people slashing to the basket, it opens up the mid-range for Paul and Booker to operate. So they're perfectly in sync and balanced right now. It's really difficult. It's the Bucks picking their poison, and they lost different ways in game 1 and 2, but the end result was a loss. It's the same.
Yeah, Ayton had a double-double, 10 points, 11 rebounds. Tell me about the dynamic of having a real legitimate big man, because in recent years we haven't seen that as much, but Ayton is a force inside. Is this going to potentially lead other teams to think about maybe we should have a 7-footer on the squad that actually play in the paint?
It's a really interesting question. He's not your prototypical 1990s, 1980s power player. He's not going to bowl past people with his strength. He has tremendous hands. He has great foot speed. He's very agile. So he's able to play with skilled guards like Booker and Paul in a motion system. So it's really the modern NBA adapting to 7-footers and trying to bring them into the offense in the most efficient way possible. You look at the ways that he scores, it's typically catching lobs, rim running, getting offensive rebounds. He does it in a very skilled way, but it's still not the focus of their offense. So he's a huge part of what the Suns do. I don't know if he's going to remake the NBA the way that a three-point shooter like Steph Curry did a few years ago.
And, of course, Chris Paul is setting all these guys up. I mean, Paul, again, showing great leadership skills, hitting a big three with under 3 to play. I mean, really kind of sealing this game. Let's talk about CP3. I mean, he had a lot of turnovers tonight, which was unusual. But overall, he still orchestrates the game and gets his guys the ball right when they need it. And then, like Jay Crowder hit a big jumper down the stretch, and he's just feeding the ball at the right time to all these guys.
It's exactly right. It's making the right play at the right time. There were countless times tonight where it seemed like the Bucks were going to get within 5, 6, 7 points, get within striking distance, and either Paul hit a three or he found someone else for an easy basket, bumping that lead up into a more difficult range. It's plays like that that in the finals are so important, because if you can stop the other team's momentum, if you can just hold your ground, you can end up winning just with more skill and greater efficiency, which the Suns have right now. So they're playing the perfect game for the way their roster is constructed. They really have the Bucks confounded, I think, right now. It's not clear what they can do to match this team.
It's interesting because we've seen 2-0, leads for the home team frequently. I mean, that happens quite often, and we've also seen teams go on to win 4 in a row, down 0-2. But the Bucks do seem out of sync. I mean, what can they do now that they know Giannis can perform? I mean, the guy had 40-plus points, was terrific. I don't know what more he could do. Obviously, he needs more support. But what, if anything, can Coach Bud do to get this offense kick-started, and of course to stop the Suns, because the Suns are able to get any shot they want.
It's going to be tough because a lot of what they're running into, I think, is their system or the innate flaws in their players. You're not going to make Giannis an 80% free throw shooter. And in close games like this, the fact that he's hitting barely at a 50% clip isn't going to get it done. The Bucks are relying on a lot of one-on-one action. They're not really running an offense that much. So if you're depending upon a player like Middleton or Holiday to create for himself, and that player's having a bad night, you can't really snap them out of it by just working the ball more through your offense. So I think that while they do, on paper, arguably have the more talented roster, they're not the more complete, cohesive team right now. Maybe they come back and they have a high-energy game in Game 3. They pick one up. They try to get some momentum in the series. But right now, I don't see an easy answer for them. There's nothing that I can pick out that they simply need to flip a switch that would make this a different series.
Well, I certainly thought the Bucks would be playing, they'd be a little bit more sharp than they have been so far. But the Suns did play at home, and I guess the Bucks will have to just turn it up when they head to Milwaukee for the first time in decades, because they have not hosted an NBA Finals game since the 70s, before the two of us were around. So I think that'll be a big deal in Wisconsin, and we'll see if the Bucks can snap out of it, because they look in a big funk, down 2-0 in this best-of-7 to the Phoenix Suns, who win once again 118-108. We'll see you after Game 3 of the NBA Finals.